Wait, what? The Quran says you can take female captives?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody, and welcome back to Rosie's Corner. So in our previous video, we talked about the status of women in Islam, and today we are going to discuss the verses in the Quran that are difficult to understand due to the context or the linguistics that was used at the time in order for people to understand at the time. Now, the verses that we're going to discuss are often used wildly and laughably out of context by those who are trying to discredit Islam. So for those who are seeking the truth of the matter, stick around and may Allah guide you to the truth and to salvation. Ameen. So the first verse that we are going to discuss is Surah 2, verse 223. And it states, "Your wives are like farmland for you, so approach them consensually as you please, and send forth something good yourselves. Be mindful of God, and know that you will meet him, and give good news to the believers." In speaking to the people of the time of the revelation of the Quran, it was necessary to use the language that they would understand and accept. Since most of the people at the time were farmers and herders of some kind, this is the idiom that was used. The use of the word farmland does not imply that women are animals. It means that the husband is the farmer, meaning the caretaker of the family. The wife is the farmland, meaning her body is to be nurtured and taken care of, as she is the one that will be the source of a future family. And the seeds are their future children. Now, the verse then goes to state explicitly that this approach must be consensual. Now, the back door is forbidden and also is forbidden anytime that the wife is bleeding. Now, this was important to state for people who were sexually deviant and were doing all kinds of things with no rules. The verse then proceeds to say that children will be a result of the interaction between husband and wife. And then the verse finishes by giving the people a warning that God is watching and to be mindful not to abuse a wife as was done in the past. Now, something I want to ask you guys, and I want you to think about this and give yourselves an honest response. Have you ever seen a farmer and how they take care of their farmland? Does the farmer go like a maniac, forcing and abusing and ravaging the land that they are caretakers of? No? Neither have I. What I have seen is farmers be patient and gentle and caring with the land that they are caretakers of. Now, the second verse we are going to discuss is Surah 2, verse 228, and it states, "Women have rights equal to those of men, although men have a degree of responsibility over them, and God is almighty, all-wise." Now, this verse is typically taken out of context by intentionally only saying that the Quran says men have a degree over women. First of all, it doesn't help your credibility to remove 70% of the verse. But for those who are sincere and honest and learning, the verse here clearly says that men and women are equal. However, men have a degree of responsibility over the women. What does this mean? It means that they are the caretakers. In general, men are built physically stronger and bigger than women, and it is only natural that they have the responsibility of taking care of women in ways that we can't do for ourselves. Now, why is this only a problem when it comes to Islam? Let's consider the world outside of Islam. Are police officers mostly male or female? What about the military? What about firefighters? Now, the next verse we are going to discuss is Surah 4:11, and it states, "God commands you regarding your children. The share of the male will be twice that of a female." Now, this verse is a lot longer and more detailed, but we're going to talk about this part because it's a fan favorite, let me tell you. Now, if there is a will left by someone who has passed away, that will must be honored. However, if there is no will, or the one who passed away did not make a plan as to how their assets would be split up, the inheritance in some cases for females will be smaller than that of a male. Now, this is not due to any bias against women. This is because Islam maintains fairness and justice for both men and women. And women are more than favored when it comes to being financially supported by men, whether it be her father, her brother, her uncle, her husband, or even her son. Now, as a result, in some cases, women do receive smaller inheritance to create a balance and to help men who are obligated to help their female family members. For example, let's say a father dies and he has one son and 3 daughters. That one son is now obligated to provide and protect and support not only his 3 sisters, but also his family. So if he has a wife and kids, he also needs to provide for them. Now, imagine that that one son was your friend or your husband. You would agree that he does deserve a bigger inheritance now that he has more responsibility and more people to take care of. And this is only fair, despite what you might want to believe. Islam maintains fairness and justice for both men and women. Now, in comparison, women in the Bible, as stated in Numbers 27, verse 4 through 11, are only entitled to an inheritance if they have no brothers. And even then, the inheritance is to be shared with other male relatives in the family. I also want to point out that in Islam, all issues have a solution. While thousands of families cut ties every day due to inheritance issues, Muslims don't have that because inheritance has already been decided by God in detail for all of us. The next verse is Surah 2, verse 282, and it states, "O believers, when you contract a loan for a fixed period of time, commit to it in writing. Let the scribe maintain justice between the parties. The scribe should not refuse to write as Allah has taught them to write. They will write what the debtor dictates, bearing Allah in mind and not defrauding the debt. If the debtor is incompetent, weak, or unable to dictate, let their guardian dictate for them with justice. Call upon 2 of your men to witness. If 2 men cannot be found, then 1 man and 2 women of your choice will witness. So if one of the women forgets, the other may remind her. But witnesses must not refuse when they are summoned. You must not be against writing contracts for a fixed period, whether the sum is small or great. This is more just for you in the sight of Allah, and more convenient to establish evidence and remove doubts. However, if you conduct an immediate transaction among yourselves, then there is no need for you to record it. But call upon witnesses when a deal is finalized. Let no harm come to the scribe or witnesses. If you do, then you have gravely exceeded your limits. Be mindful of Allah, for Allah is the one who teaches you, and Allah has perfect knowledge of all things." Now, this verse is long and detailed, giving meticulous instructions on how to conduct a contract in order to avoid any disputes in the future. Now, this verse shows how the Quran is a manual to conduct life in every aspect in a fair and just way in order to avoid problems in the future. However, there are some people who will completely skip over the majority of the verse and focus only on the 6 words. So why does it require 2 females in place of 1 male? Is this a bias against women, or is it actually justified? First of all, this verse is talking about a contract loan agreement. It's not talking about a testimony, so don't mistake the two. Now, we know that a woman's testimony is equal to a man's testimony as seen in Surah 24, verse 6 to 10. To understand this verse, you have to understand first that 1400 plus years ago, women did not normally participate in business transactions, economics, working, or anything that had to do with money. That was the role of the husband. So naturally, women did not have the proficiency in dealing with business contracts. On top of that, if a woman witness happens to be pregnant and there is a chance that she may experience absent-mindedness and forgetfulness due to the pregnancy hormone fluctuations that affect the neurons in the brain, or also known as pregnancy brain. The second woman witness would serve as backup. Now, this is not to say that women are less intelligent than men, but rather that women go through experiences that men don't, that affect their memory. If you were one of the contract signers, would you not want to have witnesses who are knowledgeable and sharp without having any circumstances that would jeopardize that contract? Now, this is the judgment of the Almighty. To make sure that all bases are covered and to ensure a just and fair contract agreement takes place. The next surah is Surah 2, verse 230, and it states, "So if a husband divorces his wife 3 times, then it is not lawful for him to remarry her until after she has married another man and then is divorced. Then it is permissible for them to reunite as long as they feel they are able to maintain the limits of Allah. These are the limits set by Allah, which He makes clear for people of knowledge." Now, the context of the revelation of this verse was in response to the common practice prior to Islam, when the man had the right to take back his divorced wife, even if he had divorced her hundreds of times. That was a common practice amongst the pagan Arabs, as well as other former nations, where also the women had no choice in marriage. It was abusive to the woman to be in this situation with no stability. This situation was harmful for the wife, and this is why God put a limit of 3 divorces on the man. The husband is allowed to remarry his ex-wife after the first and the second divorce. The third divorce is final. Now, the message through this verse is a warning to men not to divorce his wife repeatedly without thinking deeply about it and whether the divorce is truly necessary. It is a threat to a man not to exceed his limits on his wife. It is a time for both men and women to determine if after the second divorce, they continue the marriage in peace or separate completely. Then the verse says a reuniting can happen if they feel they can reunite for a serious marriage. The verse ends by stating that many people will misconstrue this verse, but the ones with knowledge will know clearly what it means. How ironic. Now, another fan favorite is Surah 424. Also forbidden to marry are married women except female captives in your possession. Wait, what? The Quran says you can take female captives? Well, how about we keep reading, because the verse is not done there. Also forbidden to marry are married women except female captives in your possession. This is God's commandment to you. Lawful to you are all beyond there, as long as you seek them with your wealth and legal marriage, not in fornication. Give those who you have consummated marriage with their due dowries. So before Islam, the pagan Arabs, as well as other societies like the Greek and Roman empires, used to take women as captives and kill their husbands during war. Now, women were used for sexual purposes, and then these women would either be killed or returned to families where they would be ostracized by family and society, even though they were the victim. Now, without husbands, most women ended up starving and dying. While the practice of men having sex with female war captives was not first introduced by Muslims, it was Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who first implemented a system that would put conditions to the practice that would give women rights, financial support, and maintain their dignity. Now, this ruling is very different than what the ruling in the Bible, which states in Deuteronomy 21, verse 10 through 13, when you go out to war against your enemies and the Lord delivers them into your hand, you take them captive, and you see among them a beautiful woman and desire her, and would take her for your wife. Then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails. She shall put off the clothes of her captivity, remain in your house, and mourn her father and mother a full month. After that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. Now, although the Bible states that a man can marry a female captive, it lacks further condition. What advantage does the woman have? It makes no mention of her being compensated or given a proper dowry. So what is the woman gaining out of this arrangement? And for the people who are once again going to come here and tell me, well, why does she need to gain something? Why do you? And last but not least, we have Surah 65, verse 4. And it states, as for your women past the age of menstruation, in case you do not know, their waiting period is 3 months, and those who have not menstruated as well. As for those who are pregnant, their waiting period ends with delivery, and whoever is mindful of God, he will make their matters easy for them. Now, this verse is regarding women. Women. The word nisa in Arabic means women. It is used almost 60 times in the Quran, and never once is it used regarding a prepubescent female child. This verse refers to a woman who hasn't menstruated due to menopause, a woman who hasn't menstruated due to pregnancy, and a woman who hasn't menstruated yet due to medical or hormonal issues, or any of the hundreds of reasons why sometimes a woman's menstrual cycle is skipped. Some people will try to reach really way out there and try to misconstrue this verse by saying that children are included in this verse because they are also amongst the population that has not menstruated. But where does it say the word children or child? This is the word in Arabic for children, and it is used throughout the Quran, but it's not used here. Nisa is the subject of the whole chapter here, meaning grown women. Guys, this is the time to seek knowledge. This is the time to search for the truth. And if you are sincerely searching for the truth, I encourage you to read. Read, because you never know what you're going to find. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment what type of content you guys want to see. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell button so you guys know when we post. And if you want to join Rosie's Corners Insiders, hit that join button down below, and we will see you in our next video. And may Allah always be in your corner. Bye.